Hi, this is Daisy Glassburn, Chair of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. Today is March 5th, 2026. The time is 9 a.m. This is a public meeting of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. We will now call this meeting to order and begin by having the Division Director perform roll call.
All right, good morning. This is Deputy Director Halloran. Board Member Glassburn.
Here.
Board Member Stilo.
Here.
Board Member Bartel.
Here.
Board Member Chachas.
Here.
Board Member Goff.
Present.
Board Member Taylor.
Here.
And Board Member Wise.
Present.
All right, you have a quorum.
Thanks, Sarah. Can I have a motion to approve the board meeting minutes from January 8th, 2026?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have. Who was that seconded?
That was Darius. I'll second.
Okay. Thanks, Darius. I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the January 8th, 2026 Board of Real Estate Appraisers. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes. Now we'll move on to policy matters.
Yes, board members, does anyone have any agenda items for the next meeting? No? Okay, we can move on then.
All righty, we'll move on to the citizen participation period. Any person may bring their concerns about matters not on the agenda before the board. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to 2 minutes. Is there anyone who signed up to speak or anyone who wishes to speak at this time?
Thank you, board members. No one has signed up in advance to speak. However, if anyone that is present would like to address the board, you may select the raise hand icon from the Zoom platform menu options. You generally often found at the bottom of your screen. So if we can give it a moment there, board members, to see if anyone from the public would like to address you. And just watching for any hands, and I'm not seeing any, so I'll pass it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, David. We will move on to complaint matters, starting with complaint matter A.
All right, and I believe we had a recusal before I jump into these.
That would be me. Yep, I'm going to be recusing myself from matters A and B. So if you guys let me know when you have approached C and D, then I will return.
Thank you. Okay, so board matter A and B are combined. Combined discipline, I'll read the summary for each, and then there'll just be one disciplinary recommendation. The complainant alleged in March 2025 that the respondent appraised the complainant's home at 533 South Railroad Street in Buena Vista, Colorado at $548,000, down from $570,000 in March 2024, despite significant renovations. The appraisal understated the home's square footage by approximately 100 square feet, failed to properly account for land value, and the respondent refused in a requested reevaluation, preventing the complainants from refinancing. The complainant noted the property appraised for $570,000 in March 2024 and $548,000 in March 2025. The respondent states the earlier appraisal reflected a market peak and that the current valuation relied on recent comparable sales, documented upgrades, ANSI compliant measurements, and site value adjustments for external obsolescence. In reviewing the report and work file, there appeared to have been potential use cut violations of the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, and multiple violations of standard rules 1 and 2, as well as board rules and state statutes. There was insufficient commentary and documented support for the adjustments in the sales comparison approach. Also, it appeared that the income approach was not considered. Respondent support for some of the adjustments seems to be simply stated. And this is for case number 2025-1031. Possible violations are 1210-613-1B, 1210-613-1G, the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, and standard rule 1 and 2. And then moving on to matter B, this is complaint number 2025-1315. The complainant alleged the appraisal report was completed on a Fannie Mae 1004 form and identified as a mortgage-related assignment despite being prepared for marital property division, creating inconsistencies in the stated intended use and user. Comparable number 4, located in the subject subdivision, received a negative market timing adjustment despite reselling shortly before the appraisal date for $90,000 more than its prior sale. This subsequent sale was not addressed. The comparable map misplaces the subject property by approximately 4 miles. Flood zone information is inconsistent. And comparable number 2 contains square footage and room count discrepancies. The report also claims street level inspections, yet several comparable photos were sourced from MLS despite clear street visibility. The report states that the street level inspections were conducted, however, 3 comparable photos were taken from the MLS by unobstructed street visibility. The report claims MLS photos may better represent properties, even though each comparable is reported as having been inspected from the street. In reviewing the report and work file, there appeared to have been potential USPAP violations of the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, and multiple violations of standard rules 1 and 2, as well as board rules and state statutes. There was insufficient commentary and documented support for the adjustments in the sales comparison approach. Also, it appeared that the income approach was not considered. The respondent's support for some of the adjustments seems to be simply stated. Violations for this are 1210-613-1B, 1210-613-1G, the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, and standard rules 1 and 2. And the disciplinary recommendation for matters A and B is a stipulation and final agency order, a fine of $500, coursework in Appraiser's Guide to Covering Your Appraisal, selecting and supporting market adjustments, sales comparison approach, a course on analysis and reporting, and work product review for appraisals in 2 months. And Investigator Wentz is here to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Sarah. Do I have a motion to accept the staff's recommendation?
This, Rob, I motion to accept it.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Yeah, this is Darius. I'll second.
Thanks, Darius. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
So just to confirm, this is Valerie Bartel. This is a combined disciplinary action for the two issues.
It is.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Ms. Halloran, I have a question. This is
Oh, sorry.
Board Member Goff. I noticed that one of the complaints is anonymous. About how many of the board complaints come in as an anonymous filing compared to someone actually stating their name?
I would say, Investigator Wentz, are you familiar with that? In our other programs, I would say it's about 25% come in anonymous.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's probably pretty close to about 25% when the complainant is actually anonymous. Just interviewing the respondent, sometimes they get irritated that an anonymous person can actually file a complaint. But I just reiterate to them that, we're just making sure that the respondents and the appraiser are abiding by USPAP, the state statutes, and obviously the board rules. So we do, like Sarah just commented, that we do probably get it close to 25% when the complainant is anonymous.
Does that affect, does it make your job harder if it's anonymous?
Well, um, kind of, because I always like to reach out to the actual complainant to get kind of both sides of the story before I actually reach out to the actual respondent. So make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and I have a fairly good understanding of exactly what they're actually trying to, what the actual purpose is for the actual complaint. So yeah, it makes it a little more difficult, and I do thoroughly enjoy, or I do like to talk to the complainant to actually get both sides of the story. So I typically do that before I actually interview the respondent, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question, actually, two. It was mentioned in one, maybe both the reports, that there was significant assistance by other people. Was that brought up in the?
So when I interview the actual respondents, I always ask them who provided significant assistance, and I always make sure that the actual respondent is actually geographically competent for that actual area. I believe the actual respondent is not currently living or doesn't actively practice in that area, but he or she actually claimed that they have done several hundred reports up in those counties. So it's just I do make sure that they are geographically competent to actually appraise in that area.
Okay, because one was in Buena Vista and one was at Grampy, right?
That is correct. Yeah, and those are several hundred miles
Yeah.
away from each other. That is correct.
Okay.
Scott, this is Rob. In the 2025 1031 case, it said the respondent refused a reevaluation, preventing the complainant from refinancing. What were they trying to reevaluate? They wanted him to go back out or just visit the details that was missed?
Just basically revisit the details that were actually missed in the actual report. And I believe on this one, they actually took the county's record for the actual site value. So that was one of the other problems that we actually had with the actual cost approach. But yeah, they wanted him to just reassess his actual report. And they didn't, if I'm correct on this, this is the one that was actually the anonymous complainant that actually came in through the internet, and that's what I actually got out of the actual complaint. So again, it's kind of trying at times, actually trying to figure out exactly where the complainant's viewpoint was actually coming from when the complainant was actually anonymous, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All righty. I have a motion and a second. We can take a vote on this one. All those in favor to accept the staff recommendations, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. And the motion passes. Can move on to, let's see, do we need to get Clint back then?
You
Yeah,
should,
I'll
yeah.
pause.
I don't know who's communicating with him, but
Doreen has texted him, so I'll hold off until he's back.
okay, we'll give him just a minute here.
I'm back, guys.
In the
Hey,
meanwhile,
Clint.
I can let you know how many certified general appraisers we have.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a total of 1,078 in our system, but 1,060 are active.
Okay.
Wow, a lot more than I anticipated.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Penny.
Yeah.
Okay. Complaint matter C.
All right, complaint matter C is case number 2025-2094. The complainant allegations of potential misrepresentation of the subject's improvements and amenities, inappropriate comparable sales section, and insufficient adjustments appeared to have merit. Additionally, when reviewing the report and work file, there also appeared to have been numerous potential USPAP violations of the ethics rule, competency rule, scope of work rule, record keeping rule, and standard rules 1 and 2, as well as board rules and state statutes. The respondent failed to adequately research and analyze the subject property, the neighborhood, the current market conditions, as well as the comparable properties. Excuse me. The appraiser also failed to adequately adhere to the assignment conditions or sufficiently respond to numerous revision requests, most notably concerning the subject's condition and improvements. There's a lack of commentary or specific criteria that was used to determine a comparable property and for the selection of the comparable sales. In the sales comparison approach, there appeared to be little analysis and no documented support for the adjustments, and potentially, more importantly, for the lack thereof. There was no documented support for the site value in the cost approach, and it appeared the respondent did not understand some basic concepts for evaluating land. Additionally, there were numerous factual errors and contradictory statements throughout the report. Possible violations are 1210-613-1B, 1210-613-1G, 1210-613-1I, Board Rule 12.12, the scope of work rule, the record keeping rule, competency rule, ethics rule violation, and violations of standards rule 1 and 2. Recommendation is a stipulation for diversion, a $500 fine. Coursework includes the 15-hour USPAP course, 7 hours or more in comparative analysis and or supporting adjustment, 6 hours or more in site valuation, and scope of work, appraisals, and inspections. And Investigator Walker is here to answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Sarah. Do I have a motion to accept the staff's recommendation on this one?
Yeah, this is Valerie Bartel. I will make a motion.
Thanks, Valerie. I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second. This is Board Member Goff.
Thanks, Brent. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Rob, this is Rob Stylo. I have a couple questions here. How long has he been practicing appraisals? Roughly, do we know?
Let's see. He has been licensed 1993. He's had his license since 1993.
And when it says the respondent did not understand some basic concept for evaluating land, is that just the support side, or he really didn't understand how to evaluate the land?
Well, I think he kind of, extraction allocation. I mean, he kind of used the terms as if they're the same thing. So it just it seemed like, after 30 years of practice, you should have a pretty good understanding of, the difference between allocation and extraction, because, there's basically two ways to evaluate land. You should know them both.
Thank you.
I guess I have some questions about the measurements and the ANSI standards. Do we know, like, how did you determine that it did not seem to be that the measurements didn't seem to apply to ANSI standards?
Because the ANSI standards it's not considered gross living area unless it's all above grade. And you can see from the pictures, especially from the back of the property, the first floor is below grade. So that would not qualify per ANSI standards as being, above grade gross living area.
Okay.
And I think the AMC was trying to point that out, and it's basically, this is the way we do it here, was kind of his response.
Okay.
Yet he still put in there that it met ANSI standards in his report, when it clearly did not.
I see. Okay.
Rob,
I'm
did
sorry.
you, sorry,
Go ahead,
Daisy.
Rob.
Rob,
It's
did
okay,
you
go ahead.
speak to the AMC? I see a part of the email. It says the AMC said the appraiser was not willing to address the revisions.
Actually, I did not speak to the AMC. That was just kind of an interpretation of, because there were at least, I think, 3 revision requests. And so there was quite a bit of conversation through there. And it's just like, regardless of what you're asking, this is what I'm going to put in my report was, I guess that's kind of a synopsis of the conversations.
Okay, thanks.
What was the staff recommendation again on this one? It was just the fine part was just 500, right?
Yeah, so the fine, so it's diversion, $500 fine, a 15-hour use PAP course, 7 hours or more in comparative analysis, 6 hours or more in site valuation, and TAF scope of work appraisals and inspections.
Okay.
This is Clint Taylor. It was stated that the AMC, or that there was there indeed revisions to the report? Is there different reports where there's revisions or anything like that, or is this the only report that is available?
I believe there were revisions. Let me double check.
I'm just trying to ascertain, we're saying that he wasn't responsive, but if there's several revisions, then that means that there should be something in the report, in the addenda, stating, with a date, this is what was asked, this is what was answered, so on and so forth. So I'm just trying to understand, did he in fact comply with at least answering or attempting to answer, or at least acknowledging the request? So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
There were 2 reports submitted to the AMC. The first
Okay.
one was on October 27th. The second one was on the 23rd.
Okay.
Or 17th and the 23rd.
Okay, gotcha. I just want to make sure I understand that, was he indeed responsive or non-responsive even to that extent? So it does sound like there was some agreeableness to at least acknowledge the revision request and potentially put those in those reports. So, okay, interesting. All
He
right.
did eventually respond to the request. Whether or not he fulfilled that,
Right.
questionable.
I gotcha. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. We can go ahead and vote on this one then. I have a motion and a second to accept the staff recommendations. We'll now take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes and we can move on to complaint matter D.
Complaint matter D is complaint number 2025-2149. There appeared to be no merit to the complainant's allegation that the respondent was biased towards landlords or investors. There might have been some merit to the misrepresentation of the market conditions. When reviewing the report and work file, there appeared to have been numerous potential use PAP violations, and the scope of work rule, record keeping rule, and standard rules 1 and 2, as well as board rules and state statutes. The respondent failed to adequately research, analyze, and support the adjustments in the sales comparison approach and in the income approach. He used his opinion of value to determine the gross rent multiplier. Possible violations are 1210-613-1B, 1210-613-1G, the scope of work rule, the record keeping rule, and standard rules 1 and 2. A disciplinary recommendation is a stipulation for diversion and coursework in the sales comparison approach, a course on analysis, 7 hours, a coursework in reliable record keeping, and coursework on the income approach. And Investigator Walker is here to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Sarah. Do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation on this one?
This, Rob, I motion to accept the staff recommendation.
Thanks, Rob. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Hello, this is Clint Taylor. I second the motion.
Thanks, Clint. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I do. After reviewing everything and doing my own analysis of this whole thing, I full-heartedly disagree with this recommendation. For starters, first off, this woman is a first-time investor. So trust me, as a woman investor myself, if I had $1 for every time a man told me about being biased against women for being an investor, I'd have more money than my family does in real estate. So that absolutely does not impress me at all with Ms. Regan. Ms. Regan bought this property, and when she bought it at first, she bought it on a loan for a 1-year loan in 2022. And then 2024, she bought basically, she got another loan basically to rehab it. And that loan was only for another year. So for starters on this, she's already put herself in a bind on this property. Looking at the comparisons that were available, and what I also found was that her property is not comparable to most of the properties that were around her. Considering maybe the square footage, the floors, some of them had 2 floors, and she has absolutely no parking whatsoever, no off-street and no carport parking at all. So I feel that, I mean, could have Brad maybe done some, housekeeping stuff wrong or whatever? Sure. But I feel that his analysis and appraisal of this property was absolutely pretty much dead on.
So the summary, the findings say that there was no merit to the bias. And it seems like most of the possible violations were use PAP and record keeping. I didn't see that it was the sales comparison was it says it was failed to adequately research, and then in the report, the income approach, if I'm reading it correctly, it says it has not been completed, but he put numbers in there.
Okay.
So what part, the value might have been accurate. I don't know about that. I'm not saying that or not, but the use PAP violations, I think, is what I'm looking at.
Right. So maybe the reliable record keeping, but the sales comparison approach, I don't agree with. And I'm, the income approach, I was kind of borderline on that one. I kind of unbiased on that one. But I think the only thing that he did wrong on this one was maybe more of the reliable record keeping. But everything else, full-heartedly, Miss Regan put herself in a position as an investor, and obviously a first-time investor, in a situation where, she said that she had put in high-end finishings, which I saw the pictures. There was definitely no high-end finishings. It's just the price of doing business today in real estate. Prices have gone through the roof, and making something, that the prices are today, do not make it high-end, because those were not high-end finishes. So that's why I'm just sticking with the reliable record keeping pretty much.
Rob, wasn't there more in the sales comparison approach, though, that was an issue in terms of analyzing concessions correctly, using list to sale price ratios to determine adjustments?
Yeah, I just like to say that we don't even look at the value. We're not
Right.
we're not concerned about the value. We're looking at potential use map, which is we're looking for documentation and support. And from what I could tell from his work file and the things, he lacked the proper documentation and support. That's kind of like that. Whether or not the property was, the valuation was correct, in many cases, we often see people's are great with values. Unfortunately, there can be issues with the support. And once again, we're looking for reasoning and support more than anything else. There were some kind of things in his explanations that really didn't particularly make sense, but that's why we're looking for documented support. I think as far as the like the income approach, a lot of that is, using your opinion of value to help determine the gross monthly rent multiplier is kind of seemed to be an issue. Using one part of your own report to justify another part, whereas they should be independent approaches to value and not be reliant on each other.
Okay.
Right.
I manage properties in that area. And so I just, I agree with you on that, Rob, is that some of the things that he did put, I felt were not substantiated enough. And that's why I was kind of like on the income approach. I was like, because I've managed around there before. So I get that. But I'm still, I see what you're coming up with, of course, the record keeping. And like I said, the income approach, I agree with you on parts of it. Yes. There were some things that I felt should have been more substantiated.
So this is Board Member Goff. I have a question. Mr. Walker, I was looking at the investigative report on page 7 about the reconciliation. And there's a bullet point that states wide range of adjusted values. And the adjusted values are just 247,753 up to 253,485, and the gross adjustments are 2.7% to 11.5. And it's been 32 years since I've done an individual property appraisal for a bank, but I remember different percentage limits being wide ranges, and I would get them kicked back if they're over 25% on gross back in the day. Is 11.5% a wide range of adjustment?
No, not particularly, but we're not exactly, we're looking at things individually for the the methods that he's using to determine individual adjustments. you know, whether or not, you know, what a lender is requiring is out of our scope. We're just looking for his reasoning and support. And so basically, that is more informational than actually a sort of kind of an issue. You know, as far as, you know, as long as you can support an adjustment, regardless of the percentage, we're fine with that. It's just the lack of support is the issue that we had.
Maybe that bullet point should be reworded on your investigative report, because it's not a wide range of value.
Yeah.
I would agree to that as well, because typically when I'm reviewing reports, that range, I would not necessarily state that that is too wide in my personal opinion. But again, as Rob is stating, I understand that. I think the main thing here is just maybe rewording the wide range of adjusted values, because I would agree with Brent that maybe that wording needs to be reworked, if you will, because I don't believe it's accurate in my opinion.
That's that wide ranging part. That's just part of the standard form. I didn't actually do that, so that's
Gotcha.
kind of the form. Sometimes we have to work within the confines of the reform, and you know, we don't want to be, you know, editing and adjusting the standardized form for every report. So I think that could lead to some confusion, and obviously it did.
Gotcha.
It
Maybe
didn't
it's something that
impact
we can take note of.
recommendation, though.
I guess I could put no for at that, but generally that's just kind of the standardized version of the form.
Do the appraisers receive that investigative report, or is that internal?
No.
Right. Okay. Bessie, I didn't know if you wanted to amend the motion or if you are putting something to shift what the staff recommendation is.
Oh, thanks, Daisy. I would, I would like to keep on there, of course, the reliable record keeping. And after talking to Rob, thanks, Rob, for your input on that. I agree that the income approach, but the sales comparison, I don't think he needs to do that one. I think it needs to just be the reliable record keeping and income approach.
And looking at it, this is Clint Taylor. I agree with Bessie on that, in taking another look through this. So maybe that's something we need to vote on or review as far as what we're voting on and recommending.
So Bessie, did you want to amend the motion to take out the sales comparison education? Is that?
Yes, thanks, Daisy, I would.
Okay, and then Clint, are you seconding that?
I'm seconding Bessie's motion.
Okay, I have an amendment to the motion to remove the sales comparison approach education, and I have a second. Is there any discussion on this motion?
I think that's fair.
Sorry, Brent, did you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Also, on these investigative reports, I would like the. I was slightly misled on what was written, and I know that the form kicked out the bullet point wide range of adjusted values. But just to be fair to people we're investigating, if it's not a wide range of adjusted values, we should indicate that there was no violation. Clearly state that. So and in the future, I'd like to see that. So, but as to the motion, I think, Bessie, that's good, good reasoning, and I would support it.
Did any of the other board members have any input before we vote on this?
I think it's also fair.
Yeah. Bessie, I appreciate you asserting that and definitely think it's fair.
Thanks, Darius.
Okay. I have a motion to amend the staff recommendation to remove the sales comparison education. And we'll just take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes. It doesn't look like there's any licensing matters or ESP or Attorney General matters. So we can go ahead and can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll motion that. Sorry, I'll make the motion.
Someone else seconded, I thought I heard. Who was that?
Yeah, it was me.
Thanks, Darius.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting is adjourned. We'll see everybody. Let's see.
May 7th.
All right, thanks everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.